Alignment is really important. When some people in the school are focusing on one thing and other people are focusing on another, or when we have expectations for how students are going to perform, but the ways we're working on improving our performance don't match up, we spend a lot of effort, student effort, teacher effort, leader effort, and we don't get very far. But when we line up all those efforts, that's when we really see progress. So I want you to go away thinking about this wonderful little picture of the stacking dolls. This is the metaphor we're going to work with to help us remember that whatever it is we want to see students demonstrate to show us that they're developing strong literacy skills, whether it's showing us that they can read a passage with a lot of inflection and phrasing and fluency, or whether they're showing us that they can decode multisyllabic words, or that they can find the answers to comprehension questions across 2 or 3 paragraphs. Whatever it is we want to see them demonstrate in their learning, we want to make sure we're clear about what it is we're going to see teachers do to see, or to make sure that the students are successful demonstrating that piece of learning. And if we want teachers to do those things that will help students demonstrate the learning we want to see, we want to make sure that if we have literacy coaches or any other kind of instructional coaches, that they're focusing on those same teaching strategies and practices and helping the teachers adopt them. And if the coaches or other support people are doing that work, then we want to see that the principal and the school leadership team are thinking of ways to support that work and building ways to support that work into day-to-day life of the school. When we do all of that, then we have alignment and everybody in the school fits together like the stacking dolls. And then the progress begins to happen in pretty rapid time. Our picture for this, it looks like this. So we have clear picture of how we want students to demonstrate their growth in specific areas. We have a clear picture of what teachers are going to be doing in the classrooms day to day to help get that performance by students. And we have a clear picture of what the principal and the rest of the school community is doing to support that classroom work. So I'd like to give you an example, and then we're going to play with this a little bit. So here's the example. Suppose we are working on one of the skills that we hope students can demonstrate to show that they're developing their reading really well. And that is a skill that goes along with the concept of fluency. And that is being able to read out loud with appropriate phrasing and inflection. When students can do that, and when we can listen to them do that, we know that they're getting more meaning out of the passage they're reading, and they're getting more understanding of what they're reading, and they'll retain more of it. So we're looking for students to demonstrate phrasing and inflection that's appropriate for the passage. So then let's take a look at, if that's what we expect to have students do, what would we see the teacher do? Well, we might see the teacher modeling phrasing and inflection for a passage, and then letting the students practice it. Or we might see the students working with a volunteer to practice using phrasing and inflection as they work with a volunteer. Or maybe while the teacher is doing small group instruction, 2 students are doing that with each other in their independent working time. If that's what we want to see the teachers doing, then what might the literacy coach do? Well, literacy coach might model phrasing and inflection strategies, maybe come in the classroom and work alongside, maybe meeting one-on-one with the teachers and providing some sample activities and some suggestions, maybe even giving some observation and feedback. And if that's what the literacy coach and the teachers are doing, what might we see the principal and teacher leaders doing? Well, maybe they're scheduling whole staff or PLC or grade level work sessions or workshops on strategies for improving inflection and phrasing. Maybe they're doing learning walks so that as people are working on those strategies, they can learn from each other and share what they're learning and learning as they practice together. So with that example, I hope you can see this is an example of what we mean by alignment. And I'm going to let you try your hand at it right now. So here's one demonstration that we might want to see in a student as we're reconnecting after being in the COVID-19 shutdown, and we come back together with them in the fall. Maybe we need to reconnect them to the idea of reading and why it's important to them. Maybe we want to start the year with students being conscious of their own reasons for reading and being able to start thinking about setting their own goals. What a great way to start a new year, to have a conscious reason for learning what we're going to learn and have some beginning experience with setting some goals as a learner. So if that's what we want students to do, we want to see students do, what I'd like you to do is use the chat. And I want you to imagine if we wanted to support students doing that, what might a parent do? If the parent knew that that's what we were going to ask students to do in the beginning of the year, what might a parent do to help make that happen? What would you as a teacher do in those first days and weeks that you're working with the students to get your students so that they actually state their own reason for becoming a reader and start setting at least one goal as a reader? If you were a literacy coach, what might you do to support that work? If you were a principal or a teacher leader, what might you do to support that work? So let's go into the chat. You can pick any one of those people. Type in the role, whether it's parent, teacher, literacy coach, principal, teacher, leader. Type it in, and then make a statement about what you think they might do to support that work. As I start to see your statements in the chat, I will start reading them out loud and sharing them to you. So I'm going to be quiet, let you think about who you want to be in this picture, and write a suggested behavior. And we got a good start. So what I see from parents, that a parent might make sure they are reading to their kids at home every night, and hopefully they'll model how they value reading and what they do to accomplish it. Another one for parents: acknowledge my child's goals. Talk with my child about a goal. Help them set goals at home, whether it's for reading or something else. For a principal might reduce behaviors. We might want to think about what those behaviors or barriers are and expand on that statement so we can think about what the principal would do to reduce those barriers. Teacher says I could model how to pick a goal and why I picked that goal. Students need to see teachers working on a goal also. Another one for a teacher: model how to make goals reading goals. Teacher demonstrates how they read and how they would achieve their own goal. Here's another from a teacher: provide books of interest to students. Use books to look up information rather than just online. Read aloud. Let students see the teacher reading for enjoyment. And yet another teacher one: teacher instills excitement in reading to students, modeling reading importance, show example of goals. Here's another one for parent: be aware of and support student with reading goals. Read with them, read to them, commit to reading at home. Looking for some more from either principals or coaches. We got another one here from parents. Oh, this is fun. Students interview their parents about how they use reading. Ooh, we're getting creative now. Teacher, set a goal and motivate a student to make it. Teacher, model fluent reading, give strategies. Teacher, model one of their own reasons. I'm just going quickly. There's so many wonderful ones. I don't think I can catch up with how wonderful these all are. Principal supports with grade level literacy resources. Yay, principal. Literacy coach supports teachers with small group instruction or one-on-one support for struggling students. So I'd say this little exercise was very successful, and I hope that you'll enjoy. You can, at the end of today, you can download the chat and you can keep all these good ideas for yourself. Maybe it's something you want to think about as you get ready to start the school year. Thank you for playing this alignment game with me. It's something we will talk about quite extensively and we'll work on together the entire time that we're working, because the alignment piece is one of the biggest secrets of making change. There are some things that I want to just kind of preview with you that you're going to be encountering as we work together. Some of this is some new language or what might be new language for you. So one piece of new language to support our appreciative, growth-focused, strengths-based way of working is that we're not going to talk in language of deficits. Instead, we're going to talk in the language of strengths and opportunity. And one way to do that is to use new terms for the places we want to focus for growth. And so one term we use is growth edge. A growth edge comes from the idea of the zone of proximal development. It's the place where the strength we have in a given area starts to give way to opportunity for future growth. It's sort of the edge of our current capacity or competence, and it's the place we can grow next. So we like to talk about growth edges because that way we don't start seeing ourselves and our students as problems to be fixed. And then we like to look for priority growth edges. Which ones are most critical? Which will jumpstart a path towards steady progress? Which ones will create opportunities for new levels of growth? So there's some new language that you can hopefully embrace, and we'll be working with that language with you. Here's a couple of others. A priority growth target. That's a growth edge that might be the most important next area of growth to focus on. It's the next area of growth that's needed to get the student or the adult to their next level of development. And then once we pick priority growth targets, we benchmark progress in real time. We have measures and checkpoints along the way in very short intervals to see if we're making progress towards achieving that growth target. One last area of new language is this term called vital behavior. We borrowed this term from some research who's really studied how humans change, especially adults. We change by changing behaviors. We used to think that if you change people's minds, they would change their behavior. And what we're learning more and more now is that we change behavior to change minds. Actually, we start with language. We change language, which helps change behavior because we attach new behaviors to new language. And then by working on changes of language and behavior, we end up changing the way we think. And that's how we approach change in this project. So vital behaviors are the observable behaviors that are required of any given actor in the school, whether it's a student, a teacher, a principal, or others, in order to achieve the desired state. These behaviors serve as benchmarks of progress, and we monitor those behaviors in our monitoring plans while we're monitoring the growth in student performance. That's another example of alignment.